Here's a thought experiment when it comes to distribution of wealth. Let's say it happens. We're in a perfect utopia. There is no ruling class, there is no working class. Technology is used to benefit people and the most people possible. Resources are renewable. Energy is clean, it's efficient, it's infinite. There is no ruling class because there's no one to rule over, because there's no reason to rule over. What happens in that kind of society? When any idea you have is just a matter of building it, creating it, coming up with something new. That's the only real purpose in society. So when there's no more people to rule over, there's no more people to feed, there's no more power problems. What would be the purpose to go to war? If resources, not an issue, energy, not an issue, money, not an issue, if those were not the leading causes of war, resources, infinite, abundant, renewable, clean, what would we do? What would human race do in a perfect utopia other than just be bored? Be bored and just lay about and get as fat as possible like the movie Wall-E. What kind of society, how long would that society last? Probably not very, until people start getting bored and reckless and start to abuse the system, so to speak. But you have infinite power, infinite resources, infinite food, renewable, clean. You have every every disposable thing is just freely passed around. Information is widely distributed. You want to learn anything, you just access it. What would happen in a perfect utopia? Think people wouldn't just would stop trying to control the narrative? You think people would just bend over backwards and just give up? Think people would just freaking unalive themselves en masse? Truly, what would happen in a perfect utopia? These are very open-ended questions, trying to get the brain matter to do its thing and actually like pulse and think and put some neurons together. What would happen when power is no longer reliant on oil? Because right now, oil is our biggest industry globally. It controls everything. Infinite power has been found many times throughout the years. I say that without any evidence because that's something I believe. I believe that infinite power has been found repeatedly throughout the years. But how does a lowly creator and a little inventor in this working class environment go, hey, I have this genius idea. It'll revolutionize the world. It is an infinite power source that is clean, renewable, uses 2 little grams of sugar. I'm just hypotheticalizing. 2 little grams of sugar to power it. Sugar is abundant, easy to access, has no emissions. It can produce enough power to power a home for the next 1,000 years. This infinite power source of a machine. You really think that the global structure and infrastructure and all of the chains of command all around the world that is based on oil and the power dynamics of oil is just going to stop in their tracks and go, wow, thank you so much, good random kind citizen, for creating infinite power. Now we can just stop our wars and stop what we're doing and just use infinite power. Woohoo! Good job, man. No! These people control the narrative. They control resources. They control people. They control the world and how it functions and flows and moves things around. A lowly little worker who just created an infinite power source is going to try to go to his local news media and say, hey, I'm this guy, I just created this infinite power source. I want to just spread this information and help people build this because I want this free energy all around. the ones who own and operate the local police stations, the local news stations. You think that information is not going to trickle up to the information, not the technology, but the information of, hey, this random guy in freaking Oklahoma came up with this little power source that's infinite in nature and it's going to put us all out of work in the oil industry. And I'm talking not just the oil industry, the shipping industry that's reliant on the oil industry. The oil rigs who are reliant on the shipping industry to bring them their materials so they can do more mining and drilling and there's so many ripples from the oil industry. The oil industry is just this one pocket of energy, but it just happens to trickle to everything in our modern existence. The plastic in our computers, in our phones, in our technology, all around the world, even the clothes we wear, it's all reliant on oil. So if some guy just goes, hey, here's an infinite power source I created, I want to revolutionize the world and stop the oil industry. You think that a guy who owns the oil industry, I'm just saying a guy, it's probably a board of directors or a cluster of fucking coven of witches who are trying to manipulate. I don't know. I'm just hypotheticalizing. Let's just imagine it's one guy that owns the entire oil industry, global oil industry. This one guy goes, hey, I have infinite resources. I'm basically a shadow. Nobody knows I exist, but I'm around and I'm worth several quintillion dollars. I have infinite resources. I could just go to the black market and say, hey, assassin man, I have a target for you. There's this little inventor guy in Oklahoma that just created something that's going to put me out of work. Here's $5 million. Go do your thing. Assassin guy goes, I'm good at what I do. I'm getting paid. I'm going to go and off this random inventor in Oklahoma who just created a power source. Now, that guy, he also has two missions along with his assassination mission. He goes, oh, also, when you get there and you do your job, take all of his data, all his resources, and the technology, and bring it to me. Takes it to brings it to his boss, says, "Here you go. It's the infinite power source that this man created. He's taken care of. Nobody's gonna find him ever again because he's no longer conscious." The guy who takes his power source, this infinite power source, goes, "Awesome." Puts it in a warehouse in a shelf behind locked doors with armed guards, and then we move on with our life as if nothing even happened, as if that inventor never even created that power source. Because the guy with infinite resources, infinite access, controls nations at a global scale, controls the rule of law at a global scale, has infinite money, so prisons aren't going to really hold him. He'll just pay off bribes or pay off frickin' the courts and the judges and do whatever he needs to not go to jail. Or he'll send a proxy. Hey, Mr. John Smith intern, here's $10 million. Go to jail for me, and take all the blame that all the media is going to push on the execution of this guy. Okay, boss, I'm getting paid millions just to go to jail. Hell yeah. Nothing's going to change. Some guy creating an infinite power source that could revolutionize the world. He's just writing his own suicide note at that point because trying to take down the oil industry is basically like climbing up a vertical, smooth surface wall that with grease all over it. Super slippery lube all over this wall. You can jump, but you're just going to slide back down. You can see the top, see a little bell at the top to ring it. There's no grab holes. There's no surface on this wall. It's just a smooth surface with lubrication. And they say climb up to the top and ring that bell. That's the equivalent of trying to take down the oil industry in modern time. If it's not from a collection of the masses all pulling on the same side of the string all at once, it's not going to happen. That's the difficulty with infinite energy. There's probably multiple people who have said, hey, I just created a generator that works on water, and using water, which is abundant, it has no emissions, it can run basically infinitely with little to no maintenance, and will never have to worry about power again. You think people with gazillions of dollars in their back pocket with infinite resources aren't going to find out and make sure that technology never sees the light of day? It's happened time and time and time again. And then you hide it. And you hide this technology in a vault, in a warehouse, in a deep underground military base, in in a bunker. Hide it to where only one or two people know about it. Put it that bunker in a trust. In that trust is going through different shadow companies all around the world through different islands. And so even if you could trace the paper trail, you still couldn't find it. That's what it's like taking down the oil industry in today's society. It's going to have to be a major wave. It cannot just be a trickle. It cannot just be some guy in the middle of Arkansas going, "Hey, I just created an infinite power source in my garage. Let's change the world." No. As soon as he starts bringing it out to the public's attention, there's going to be somebody at the top going, "You're threatening my entire control, my entire narrative, my entire global power structure. You're a threat to me. And because I feel like you're a threat to me, I have all the right from God to just take you out of this planet." This has happened time and time and time again. But we always chalk it up to coincidence. We always chalk it up to, oh, they got a flu bug and they just passed away from the flu. Oh, that plane just happened to crash. Oh, that helicopter just happened to crash. Oh, they just happened to die in a car accident because that happens. Haha. Why'd they die in a car crash a week before their press conference to release this information to the public? And then right after their car crash, there was no investigation. There was black vehicles all around, and their entire house was raided by the FBI. And all of their data and all their information and all the technology that the guy created in his garage just happened to disappear right after the car crash. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? When you see that happen time and time and time and time again, and you realize if you're a threat to a narcissist's power control system, they're going to lash out. They're going to use their power and resources and control of the narrative to make sure that you don't challenge the narrative anymore. It's a global cult at the highest of levels with trillions of dollars in their back pocket and access to infinite resources. This game has been played time and time again for thousands of years, and it just layers on top of other layers. Every single century, they just get better and better at hiding themselves from the masses. It hasn't gone away. It's just rebranded, repackaged, and resold back to the masses as something different, something that's going to benefit the masses. Woohoo! No. This is the difficulty with a perfect utopia. Even though, let's say collectively as a human race, we're trying our best to strive for a perfect utopia, a perfect environment to where nobody dies, healthcare is free, money is not an issue, resources aren't an issue, power is not an issue. Let's say collectively as a human race, we're striving for a perfect utopia. But everybody's perfect utopia is different. Some guy's perfect utopia is just a cabin on a beach in the middle of nowhere, access to fishing all day long. That's his perfect utopia. Somebody's perfect utopia is a 20-car garage with a 50-bedroom house and 10,000 bathrooms every 5 feet. That's somebody else's perfect utopia. Somebody has a utopia that they own nothing, but they have a community of people, probably let's say 1,000 people that love and cherish them and everything that they are. That's their perfect utopia. So now, how do you make a objective, universally applied, universally loved and appreciated utopia when you have 8 billion people in this planet? Every one of them has a different imagination of a perfect utopia. Because a guy who's only making $100 a year, rounding down, If his perfect utopia is just, I want to have food on the table, a good, safe place to sleep, and something to do during the day, that's his perfect utopia. A guy who's worth trillions of dollars already owns 50 mega yachts, 100 mansions in 50 different countries. He has access to every single major news centralized intelligence agency. He has all this in his back pocket. What does he want? He already has the entire world in his back pocket. He can do anything. Fly in a private jet 24/7, never touching the ground other than to not even to refuel. He could just fly it and only land for maintenance. Infinite resources. What's his perfect utopia? His perfect is probably how many people can he control? So now you have somebody making $100 a year and a guy who's worth infinite quintillions of dollars. Both of them have a different version of a utopia. How do you make a perfect utopia? I don't have an answer other than you can't. Each individual person has a different imagination, different outcomes, different life experience, different story. Everybody has a story. But those who have more power and resources to control the story typically get to dictate whose story is continuously told and whose isn't. So, back to hypotheticals, back to using your imagination. What would a perfect utopia look like? Comment below. Wait for the next episode.